Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TC Talk, back today with another video, and today's video is a very special one, both from a just general content perspective with the keynote, but also a, I guess mini announcement is the best way to call it on the channel. So we'll kind of talk about that here in a second, but if you're new to the channel, welcome, thank you so much for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoy your stay if you're a long-standing supporter, especially of this video, of all videos. Thank you so much as always for everything. Really quick, want to get out of the way. I don't like to make a big spectacle about it. I think it's kind of cool. We have now crossed 1 million views on the channel, which is just like I'm not gonna ramble. I don't want to ramble on this or like go crazy, but 1 million views on the channel, which is just insane. Yeah, it's insane. I really don't know a way to describe it. Anyone who's followed the channel for a while knows somewhat of the spiel of how the channel started. If I can give you 30 seconds, or if you can give me 30 seconds, the channel started as a therapy tool. I was going through a life change with a long-standing partner. I was getting out of the Marine Corps. I was changing jobs. I was moving across the country to Dallas to do esports work. I was going through a lot of stressors, and I picked up Flesh and Blood originally as like a hobby. I had never really had a hobby that I could call my own, that I like took time away from like my home or the everyday life to go do. And Flesh and Blood was that. And then the channel became like a way to like outlet that joy that I was getting from the game. And when I first started, I was just doing, again, a therapy tool. I was doing it as a way to keep myself consistent, keep myself mentally, engaged in a time where my brain didn't want to be engaged, to be frank. And I just thought it'd be kind of fun. Like, I was like, okay, maybe one day I'll get like 500 subs or something, and I'll get like 100 views on a video. Like, legitimately, that's all I was expecting. So for the fact that I'm sitting here 3.5, about to be 4 years later, in October, almost 4 years at this point, making content almost at 5,000 subs and hitting 1 million views, like, it's just kind of crazy. So I thank y'all a lot. I know I don't have the craziest, I try to keep my content as sane as possible. I've gone off the deep end every once in a while, so I appreciate y'all's patience with that. I haven't always been most politically correct content creator when it comes to like takes about the game when I wasn't happy with it, and I get that, and that's, I appreciate y'all's patience with that stuff. But I really do enjoy making the content, especially the ninja stuff lately. It seems like people are really enjoying it. A lot of new players are coming in to play Ira and really enjoying that. So took up 3 minutes of y'all's time. That's a long time for me. I don't like to berate about this stuff, but I want to talk about the spoilers and about the keynote at the Pro Tour, because we had some really cool stuff. Really interesting reveals, and James White really left us on a cliffhanger of sorts, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But I'm going to bring up these cards here. We finally figured out what Confidence and Toughness tokens do. So Confidence is Pleiades' mechanic, it seems. It's an aura token, and it says at the start of your turn, destroy this. Then the next attack action card you play this turn can't be defended by more than 2 non-block cards. So I guess if they're not blocks, like if they're action cards or defense reactions, as long as they're not a block card, that's how I read it. Let me know in the comments down below if I'm wrong. But I guess this is like a pseudo dominate, I guess, is the best way to put it, right? That's how I'm reading it. Like, it's like almost a dominate, not quite, right? It's not like 1 card from hand. But they only can basically block with 2 cards, period, if they're not block cards. And I'm assuming that also means equipment. So just a way to kind of push through damage, which is really interesting. And I'm sure the auras are going to do other stuff. Like, there's a couple cards in here that we're going to talk about, or that we're going to react to. I haven't really read these cards super. I wanted to like react with y'all on these. But let me know what you think of the Confidence token. It's very interesting. It's like a super new way. Like, they originally had Dominate for Guardian. And then Betsy came in with Overpower, and that didn't quite do it, right? Let's all be honest here. So this is like, their way of like doing the Guardian big attack, right? That's hard to deal with if you give it time and space. With the Confidence, which kind of goes into her whole, theme of being a performer, and gaining that confidence and then not being able to be stopped once she gets confident. So I like the whole theme. It's really cool. Then we have Toughness, which is Tough Nuts mechanic. People were kind of speculating on this. I think most people were like actually spot on what it was going to be, which is at the start of your opponent's turn, destroy this. The next action card you defend with this turn gets +1 defense to chain link. So it's basically the opposite of embodiment of Earth. That's what a lot of people were expecting. So just gives you, if you can make multiple Toughness tokens, then you can block for a lot, which is really interesting because it's kind of a balancing mechanic with Tough Nut, because it doesn't fix Tough Nut's inability to deal with a go wide, like a heavy go wide hero, but it does have the ability to like really utilize its 3 cards as much as it can to block like one big attack. And it also probably has a little bit of limited application as well with blocking out Pleiades, or blocking out these big attacks that Pleiades and Lilith may come up with. So really cool here. Let me know what you think about that. Then we had this. This is, I think, is nothing more than, and I say no, I don't say nothing more in like a non excited way, but nothing more than a cosplay. I guess it's like it's replacing the original cosplay Marvel that we had. I forgot her name off the top of my head. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I forgot. Please correct me down below. I know y'all will. And we're actually getting more spoilers literally as I'm like looking at this, so maybe I'll pull those up in a second. They don't seem too crazy. I think it's the Pleiades Armory deck stuff, or it's just some generic common stuff. Yeah, that's what it is. As we're doing this, we're doing it live. But Frankie Make Ends Meet Necromancer Young Hero. I think it's going to be debuted at the World Championship. Even if this is just more of a promotional tool, this is sick for the cosplayers. One, the cosplayers do an amazing job. Like I always tell people whenever the conversation comes up and it's applicable, their like talent, they have more creative juices in like their freaking finger than I do in my whole body. I have a tremendous respect for the people who do that. They just get out there, one, from like just a sheer creativity standpoint and being able to piece all that together, but two, from a confidence standpoint, I guess is the word, like to be able to get out there and do that and like show off these creations, because it's a lot of work, and like I'm sure they have like some reservations if people are going to like it or not and stuff like that. So hats off to them. But yeah, this is sick. Like just as a commemorative like collector piece, gotta have this even as a non-cosplayer. Maybe they'll have enough one time where I can scoop one up just as a collector piece, but regardless, it's really cool that they continue to support different creative outlets of Flesh and Blood. Then we have some of the cards. So this is a Reviled Brute attack action. Offensive behavior, costs 0 to play, attacks for 2, blocks 3. If you control a might or vigor token, this gets +1. When this hits a hero, create a might or vigor token. So it essentially could be the cool thing about this is if you have a might specifically, this is a 0 for 4 because you get +1 from the might if it pops. Like if it, well, I guess if you controlled. So no, it wouldn't do that, right? So you wouldn't have. So you have to have somehow. The might would have to pop at the start of the turn, or when you go to attack, and then you'll have had to make a might before attacking with this potentially. Really interesting. Maybe there's a way to do that. Like if there is, then this would be a 0 for 4 on hit, make a might and vigor. If not, still a 0 for 3 on hit, make 1 resource and +1 attack. I think this is pretty good. Like, I don't know. In a non-6-ish brute, brutes that don't care about 6s, or a way to make it a 6 in a different way, like in KO's situation, it could honestly attack for a lot depending on how it goes. But the artwork is freaking sick. So that's a really cool card. We also have Old Leather and Vim, which is Tough Nut Revered Brute attack action card. If you control a Toughness or Vigor token, this gets +1. When it hits a hero, create a Toughness or Vigor token. So really just like offensive behavior, except red at 6. And it cares about Toughness or Vigor tokens to be able to create a Toughness or Vigor token. So really high, just kind of like high value play cards here. Really cool glue pieces that we're seeing. Then we have this crazy card, Outside Interference. I don't think that's Dorinthia, but it has kind of like the Solana armor looking stuff. It's an instant, or it's an attack action. It costs 3 to play, attacks for 6, blocks for 0. Instant, discard this. You may reveal a Reviled attack action card from your inventory and put it into your hand. This is very interesting. Like, I guess if you don't need this, one, it's a 6 power blue, which is what Brute's been wanting, but it is locked by the Reviled, so they're siloing that, so not all Brutes will have access to this. I know Mansant with Leviah and Eugene with Rhinar are probably crying in a corner somewhere. But this is so interesting. Like, maybe there's going to be something that cares about having this engrave. Maybe there's going to be some type of interaction with bringing something from your inventory. Maybe you have inventory cards that are really toolboxy that you could discard this to get the right one. This is very, very interesting. I don't know how this is going to work, and we're going to have to get more cards to understand like the purpose of this. But I mean, it's a blue 6, right? So like, how bad could it be in terms of Brute, right? Really, really interesting. Also blocks for 0, which is pretty crazy. So unless you have a way to buff this, you're either, I mean, actually you could buff. No, you can't buff this with Toughness because it's not reviled. But KO does have... Is KO... I need to read it, and I'm going to do this on the fly because, again, we're professional YouTubers here, and this is what we do. But with KO's ability, KO's new ability, right? Like, it should be a way to, like, mess with this, right? So, like, instant, pay 4 resources, target attack action card you control has a base of 6. That doesn't affect it. Whenever the crowd boos, you create a vigor token. So there's no way to buff the block on here. So there's got to be a different way to do it, maybe. Or maybe it's just meant to not block, right? So we'll have to see how that works out. Then we have Overcrowded. This is a really cool card. Ambush, which means you can defend with this from Arsenal, similar to the Tiger Eye Reflex in the Ira kit. So they're coming back with this keyword, which is really cool. I hope they come back with Ambush with ninja stuff. Anyway, when this attacks or defends, it gets +1 attack or +1 defense for each name among aura tokens in the arena, and it comes in at generic. So this is really interesting. This has some cool applicability, like with KO's ability. This costs 0 to play, so if you pay 4 off of pitch a blue off of a vigor with KO, this would have a base of 6, and then let's say there's like 2 or 3 auras on the arena with Pleiades or even like a different aura based hero. This could even go for even higher, right? So you could essentially be swinging like a 3 for 7 or 8, maybe even higher off of a blue, which seems really cool. It does block 2, but also this could serve as a good blocking engine against some of those aura based decks. Really, really cool card. Then we have In the Palm of Your Hand. Costs 2 to play. It is an instant aura. Blocks for 3 at an instant. So instant cards block now. That's actually scary. Suspense. This enters the arena with 2 suspense counters. At the start of your turn, remove a counter from it. When it has none, destroy it. When this enters the arena, draw a card. So this will replace itself, and it will give you a means to fuel what Pleiades is trying to do with those instants, or with those confidence tokens. So we'll have to see, and if she can stack some of these auras, and she's going to get a lot of buffs to the stuff she's trying to do. So really, really cool. It's at Majestic, so I feel like it's going to be a really powerful card as we see more of Pleiades' kit. Then we have Spw Obscenities. This is such a crazy card. Reviled Guardian, so this is a Life card. If you control a confidence or might token, this gets +1. When it hits a hero, create a confidence or might token. So it's the same cycle that we saw with the other two. The thing about Lyeth is the base and defense of cards you control or have rounded up. So this is going to, with Lyeth, this is going to come in for 2 technically. But when the crowd views you defending attack action cards, get +1 block. So this will, it'll technically come back up to 3, right? So really, really interesting card. Lyeth is like the biggest like puzzle to me. From what I've heard, people think it's going to be actually a very aggressive hero where it's going to be using low to ground attacks that then are buffed because their base won't matter if they're at 1 or 2, and then it gets buffed a whole lot. Really, really interesting card. This is like the first, I've said this about a couple other sets, but this is the first set where like I read cards and like maybe I'm just not as good at Flesh and Blood as other people, but I read these cards and I'm just so confused on like how these are going to work. Not in like a bad way. I'm just like, they're pretty out there. Wraith Guardian Tag action, 6 costs for 8. That's pretty high. But the ability is probably why. If 3 or more auras of suspense have left the arena this turn, this gets, when it hits a hero, take an extra turn after this one. At the beginning of your next end phase, they draw up to their intellect. So I'm assuming you draw up and then attack again. So you end your turn, draw up, and then attack again. That's the way I read this. Let me know if in the comments below if I'm wrong. But when this hits a hero, take an extra turn after this one. So you end your turn, you know, pass priority, move to end, arsenal, draw up, and then you attack again. Or then you take another turn. That seems pretty bonkers, especially if you can somehow give this confidence and they only can block with 2 non-block cards and can't block it out with some might tokens. This could be pretty scary. The card seems pretty good to me. Maybe I'm misreading, but it seems very good. Then we had some promos get spoiled. So Swing Big coming out as a promo, which is really sick. And then we have Uplifting Performance as another card. If you control a Confidence or Toughness token, this gets +1. When this hits a hero, create a Confidence or Toughness token. So this is meant for Pleiades. And then back to the Confidence stuff. So then we got one last reveal. James White was talking. I'm going to block my own camera here for a second. Actually, here, I can move this. James White was talking about Project Blue at the very end, and he left us on a cliffhanger. He was saying how he was very pleased with, you know, the feedback that the international community has given Project Blue, and he was really excited to unveil more stuff, like rolling it out worldwide. And then he said, like, thank you so much for Project Blue. For all the support to Project Blue, and we'll see y'all next year. And he walks off the stage, and the original look to this was an outline of Icelander with Project Blue, and then it swapped to the full Icelander, and then this Silver Age. So I don't know what this 100% means. It's a cliffhanger, right? Some people are saying Icelander's coming back, obviously. Like, is it going to be an armory deck? Is it going to be a full set called Silver Age? Is it going to be a Project Blue oriented product, whether it's a set or just like a standalone product for Project Blue? That's what my thought is, with Icelander being one of the heroes in that product. I think that's what it'll end up being. But regardless, they left us on a cliffhanger on this one, right? Let me know what your thoughts are down below. I'd love to hear it. Really crazy way to end the keynote. But on top of that, they revealed a whole bunch of locations in terms of the World Tour and where things are going to be going on from the rest of this year into the start of next year. So that was really cool to see. But yeah, I know Super Slam's kind of been like 50-50 on some people on like whether it's your cup of tea or not. I can tell you right now, there's like no product for the rest of the year that I'm going to probably buy into. But it has nothing to do with like disliking it. It's just not my classes that I play, right? But this Pro Tour is setting up. I wanted to do a tier list, but I was like, yeah, I won't do it. There's been a lot of other more talented creators like Runaways and Car Guys and stuff like that have done tier lists. So I wasn't going to go nuts with it. I do think Katsu is a sleeper, but I think it's going to be really interesting. The one thing I will say, I did like what Nathan was talking about on the Car Guys with like the representation of Gravy and like slow decks, and like where that falls is going to dictate what happens in this Pro Tour a lot. I mean, he said it a lot more elegantly and like with more detail, but basically if there's a lot of Gravy and not a lot of slow decks, then aggro might go nuts. But if you see a lot of Gravies die down because there's so much aggro running around, some people might have swapped off a Gravy last second, and then you see a lot of slower decks like Victor, Kasai, like these other slow decks like trying to prey on the aggro decks. Then you might see this crazy like triangle like thing. Like it's pretty nuts, right? I'm really excited to see what happens tonight. I work night shift, so I will be watching in my spare time, hopefully while I'm awake, but we'll see, because it starts at 10 p.m. Eastern, at least on my time. So super excited about that. But yeah, thank y'all so much again for listening to me ramble. Like I said, there is my alarm at the very end of it. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I did not expect to get to this milestone. I'm just a dude who talks into the ether and has fun doing it, and sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. I appreciate everyone's support. I appreciate when people call me out on stuff, whether it's like a take or an opinion or maybe how I'm talking, or whatever the case may be. I appreciate y'all's honesty with me and keeping me honest as a content creator. I love this game. I know I don't always talk elegantly. I think I've gotten better at that the last year. Personally, it's been a growth goal of mine to really talk a little bit more elegantly about things that I disagree with. But regardless, I try to be real with y'all. I try to give y'all my honest opinions and not give y'all the cheesy content creator stuff. And I don't mean other creators in our space. I mean just in the career sphere in general. But yeah, thank y'all so much. It's been an amazing therapy tool. I'll keep trying to make content as much as I can. As much as I'm enjoying it, I'm going to keep doing it. And honestly, y'all's comments back, the last thing I'll say is reading a comment of someone saying hey, I'm new to the game. I just saw your IRA video. It got me really excited to play Ninja. I'm super stoked for the Armory deck. I'll let you know how it goes. That. I can't, I literally immediately go to Reagan. I'm look at this. This is what makes me make videos. Those type of comments are just and I've gotten a lot of them. And that's not that's definitely not a flex. It's literally just a saying thank you, for people that give that feedback. It makes me really happy. Try to do my best, but I'm not gonna get too sappy on y'all. Thank y'all so much. If you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If you're not a fan of this content, that's totally fine. There is a creator worksheet down below in the description. Feel free to check out other creators in that worksheet that create a Flesh and Blood, and find one that you like and enjoy a lot, and maybe leave a like, comment, or subscribe on their stuff. But yeah, thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see y'all next time on TC Talk.